Hey friends, Clifford Shirley here from Florida. I'm in a bathroom currently. I'm leading a retreat for a group of staff that's on Young Life staff at a camp in Florida. And so I can't be there tonight, but I really wish I could be. It's going to be a great night. What is being a Young Life leader is a great question. Our founder, Jim Rayburn, says Young Life is about Christ and kids, and in that order. And I would add, along with that comes community. But that's really what Young Life is. It's Christ and kids in that order. Meaning, we are a group of people, Young Life leaders, are a group of people committed to the belief that Christ is the greatest thing. He is the greatest person who ever lived. And that our lives did not work right until we became personally acquainted with him. No doubt about it. No, and fill in the blank, period. The second thing is kids. We love high school kids. We're committed to the belief that every kid deserves the right to know who Jesus is, what he did, and how they can be in a relationship with him. And then the third thing that just kind of happens as part of that, of being in a group of people who all love and are walking towards Christ and who love kids and are walking towards them, is community. It's a common collection of people walking in the same direction with the same heart and the same goal, who care about each other, who aren't simply existing or living together, but they are in each other's lives, asking good questions and hard questions, going on adventures and vacations. It's a group of people that hopefully will one day be in your wedding and be at the hospital when your children are born. You'll live with them. You'll laugh with them. All those things. So tonight, that's what you'll hear about. You'll hear about Christ. You'll hear about kids. You'll hear about community. I am a Young Life leader at Northeast High School. I became a Young Life leader 15 years ago because I had one. Because when I was in high school, I was a stuck-up punk who thought he had all the right answers to life. I thought I knew who Jesus was and what he was all about, but really I didn't. And really I knew that. I just was lying to everybody and God, myself included. But I had a Young Life leader who came into my life, met me where I was, loved me as I was. And I'll never forget, he would always do this crazy thing. He would come to my house. We didn't have cell phones. We had landlines. He would come to my house. He had a cell phone. I was a kid. He'd pull into my driveway, 6 o'clock. He'd call my house phone. My mom would answer, yell down. I'd pick up the phone, and he'd say, "Hey, what are you doing for dinner?" I'd be like, "I don't know. Mom, what are we having for dinner?" She'd be like, "Lasagna." I'd be like, "We're having lasagna. What are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm in your driveway. Let's go eat pizza." And I always remember thinking, what if I was busy or not home or didn't answer? But he came to where I was. And then we'd go get pizza, and he always would do this. He'd say, "Hey, how are you?" And I'd be like, "I am fine. How are you?" And he'd sit and he'd look at me and he'd say again, "No, I mean, how are you?" He was the first person in my life who ever did that. I remember thinking, what do you mean? I mean, who does that? Who asks the same question twice in a row? But he wanted to know who I really was, not who I was telling everyone I was. And I'd never had anyone do that before with me. And it began to change my life forever. And I learned about Christ through my friendship with him. I learned that Christ loved me as I was, not how I should be. I learned that I didn't have to be perfect and that it wasn't about keeping score. It was just about being in a relationship with Jesus. And I didn't know any of that stuff until my Young Life leader. And so when I went to college, I decided I wanted to become a Young Life leader. And it changed me forever. I started running after kids just like me that were just full of it. Acted like they were Christians, but they weren't. And a lot of kids who didn't want anything to do with God. But really, the God that they thought they didn't want anything to do with, I didn't believe in either. It was some false version of God they had heard about that is a bunch of rules and restrictions and about being good enough and not cussing. And that's just not who God is at all. So I'm jealous. I wish I could be there. I'm excited for y'all. And maybe the last thing I would encourage, Annalena might have already said this, but the thing I would encourage you most tonight is not to make a choice. Don't make a choice about whether or not you want to be a Young Life leader tonight, because you don't know. And becoming a Young Life leader is something God calls you to. It's not just something you decide. And so tonight's not really about deciding, am I going to be a leader or not? Oh my gosh, I got to figure out the next 3 years of my life. No, tonight's about saying, hey, here's what we're doing, and here's what this is about. And I'd invite you to take one more step. Come back in January. Come to Young Life Leader Training and take one more step. You don't have to worry. We're not going to try and talk you into being a leader. In fact, over the next 6 weeks in January when we go through training, I'll honestly mostly just be trying to talk you out of it. By telling you what it really is, what the commitment is, what we're asking of you, what we're looking for. And if you still want to do it, then we'll kind of say, well, that must be the Lord calling you. I would say don't decide tonight. Just take one more step. I hear some people outside. I think it's time for me to go. Okay, bye. Y'all have fun tonight.